I think price is 90% of Bitcoin. And like I am truly a supply and demand guy. So first off, the supply and demand, oh, wow, 21 million. And you guys have lost 4? You lost 4 million coins. Oh, how'd you lose the 4 million? You lost the 4 million. I know how you lost it. You mispriced it.
Welcome, everybody. This is Buck Joffrey with the Wealth Formula Podcast, coming to you from Montecito, California. Today, I want to remind you, once again, before we begin, there is a website associated with this podcast. It's called wealthformula.com. Lots of resources there for you, including the opportunity to sign up for various things like the Accredited Investor Club. If you want to see potential deal flow that are not available to the public, general public, sign up, get onboarded, and be treated like part of the club. Go to wealthformula.com and join Investor Club, because who doesn't want to be part of a club? Let's talk today about the show, and we're going to end up talking about Bitcoin again. And, I'll tell you, some of you, because you've been listening to me for years, and you've been hearing me talk periodically about Bitcoin, and but mostly about other stuff, right? And you might be thinking, why is he going so crazy with this Bitcoin story? Because it's not real estate, it's not all these other things. But I think what you're sensing from my shift here is that I don't want you to ignore this asset class. I'm just thinking, yeah, I'm not saying you got to invest, and I'm not going to tell you what to invest in, but if you're not paying attention to this, I just think it's a mistake. And you need to sit down and think about, if this does belong in your portfolio, because the vast majority of the world does not know this. Okay. They don't know what's happening and what is going to happen because of what's happening now. What's happening right now? Well, Bitcoin is breaking records again, right? But this time, believe it or not, it's not because of retail frenzy. It's not your barber telling you about their Bitcoin that they bought or something like that. Is we've seen in the past. In fact, search trends, right? Social media chatter, and small investor activity, which are all measures in the past with Bitcoin, FOMO. They're quieter now than they were in 2017 when the last 2017 or 2021, really like the last times we kind of had these bull markets. The people driving the movements in Bitcoin today aren't hobby traders. They're in fact big institutions and some of the wealthiest investors on the planet. If you think about what's happened, over the course of the past few years, just look at BlackRock. Okay, Larry Fink runs BlackRock. A few years back, he dismissed Bitcoin as, quote, an index of money laundering, right? And now he's calling it digital gold. And his firm, iShares Bitcoin Trust, IBIT, which you can buy pretty much anywhere, has become the fastest growing ETF in history. It is their single biggest ETF right now. And it's pulled in nearly $90 billion. And that's representing 3% of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist. Those billions of dollars are coming from pensions, hedge funds, and the kind of family offices that have multi-generational plans that include capital preservation and growth. The latest thing that I heard of, which I thought was kind of funny, Harvard University has made the leap. So back in 2018, one of their star economists, Kenneth Rogoff, said Bitcoin was more likely to hit $100 than $100,000. Well, Mr. Rogoff, you were wrong. And today, Harvard's endowment reflects how wrong you were, because they own BlackRock's IBIT. In fact, they bought about $100 million worth. And that represents more stock, more than the amount they have in Apple stock in its U.S. equity portfolio. So that's not just a change of heart. It's a complete reversal in worldview by one of the biggest university endowments in the world. And of course, next, Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy. Maybe you don't know MicroStrategy. Now Strategy is this, enormous Bitcoin treasury company. They basically were a software company that decided, we're just going to buy Bitcoin from now on. And we're going to accumulate Bitcoin. And now they hold 3% of the total future Bitcoin supply. Michael Saylor himself a few years ago was basically saying that, Bitcoin was just kind of a fad and it's not real. Well, he's, built his entire career, his identity, his brand, and, one of the most profitable companies in the world here by becoming all Bitcoin, right? And listen, again, this isn't, this is institutional FOMO. That's what this is. It's not retail FOMO. It's the biggest asset manager on earth. BlackRock is selling it. Elite universities are holding it. Corporate treasuries are betting their future on it. And family offices are adding it to the, some of their portfolios as well, where they hold blue chip stocks and trophy real estate. Okay. But institutions, again, they're not the only ones making this move. There's another wave. It's quieter, but just as significant. And this is coming from the ultra high net worth crowd, the centimillionaires, right? These are the people that can, wire 10 million bucks into a position without blinking. And, I've always said in the past that I don't like to take, and I don't take advice, typically financial advice from someone with less money than me, and I don't think you should either. Well, Gary Cardone, Grant's brother, if you don't know who that is, has a lot more money than me. A lot. He's a huge bucks guy, and he's all in on Bitcoin. All right. Now, Gary is part of what I think you can see with these big investors, these centimillionaires, what they call smart money, right? He's in the same camp with the other ultra wealthy who aren't just dabbling in crypto now. They're making huge conviction bets. In fact, I didn't ask Gary this directly, but some estimates from what he said is that over 80% of his liquid net worth is now in Bitcoin. And that's a lot of Bitcoin. And when you see people with that kind of capital and that kind of access, all moving in the same direction, it's worth listening to why, right? In other words, if I'm not going to convince you that you should be listening, who am I? I'm just a personal finance podcaster, ex-surgeon, whatever. I'm no centimillionaire. But the guys with a lot of money like that, the institutions, the endowments, the pension funds, they all see something. And it's about time, if you have not, that you acknowledge that this is indeed something that, okay, I'm not going to tell you what to invest in, but if you're not learning about it, and if you're not at least thinking about whether or not you should, you are going to regret it. I really believe that. So that's why I asked Gary Cardone to join us today, because again, I never take, advice from people with, who are a lot less wealthy than me. Well, Gary's a lot wealthier than I am, and I want to hear what he has to say, and hopefully you do as well. And we will have that interview right after these messages.
Wealth Formula Banking is an ingenious concept powered by whole life insurance. But instead of acting just as a safety net, the strategy supercharges your investments. First, you create a personal financial reservoir that grows at a compounding interest rate, much higher than any bank savings account. As your money accumulates, you borrow from your own bank to invest in other cash flowing investments. Here's the key. Even though you've borrowed money at a simple interest rate, your insurance company keeps paying you compound interest on that money, even though you've borrowed it. As a result, you make money in two places at the same time. That's why your investments get supercharged. This isn't a new technique. It's a refined strategy used by some of the wealthiest families in history, and it uses century-old, rock-solid insurance companies as its backbone. Turbocharge your investments. Visit wealthformulabanking.com. Again, that's wealthformulabanking.com.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. Today, my guest on Wealth Formula Podcast is Gary Cardone. He's a 30-year veteran of energy trading, fintech, and blockchain. He's a twin brother to Grant Cardone, who's been on our show before. Gary turned early struggles into big wins, scaling his company Dynegy into a Fortune 30 powerhouse, co-founding fintech leader, Chargebacks 911, and investing as a seed partner in Cardone Capital. Today, he's driving blockchain ventures like Node 40, pushing digital assets as the future of wealth. Gary, thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you, man. Good to be here.
Well, we just started talking offline and started getting really interesting, and I was like, I better push the record button here. But let me just start out with this. You know, Gary, you and your brother Grant, you grew up in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Sounds like you had maybe some tough knocks early on with your loss of your father and your brother.
Yeah.
So how did these experiences shape you and Grant, who ultimately both ended up incredibly successful? But in slightly different ways. But I mean, the success is remarkable for, set of twins.
It is a little weird. We went really very, very, very different ways.
Yeah.
We're still going different ways.
Sure.
I think, we didn't die and we didn't give up.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
That is, we didn't die and we didn't give up. We didn't get thrown in jail. And all of those things could have happened quite easily. I don't know. I really give my mother great credit for, and something that must want both of us around, because I most certainly should not be here. And Grant was worse than me. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that I did ask him once, we were doing an interview of each other. And I asked him, I said, if you could magically make your life change such that your dad did not die when we were 9, would you change that? And his instant answer was no, just like mine.
Interesting.
So I think we both know that had to happen.
Yeah.
And I think that probably that pain or that whatever, psychological shit that goes on when you have a big loss like that. What did it do? It tended to fuel us. And that's why I say, hey, we didn't die and we didn't give up. It wasn't the most elegant way up it wasn't the most elegant career path. I think for him, it was less elegant. Mine seemed elegant, but it was very, I just didn't know what I was doing.
Sure. Well, you, obviously you spent some time in energy. And you're scaling natural gas clearinghouse into Dynegy, and all of that was, I think, the energy markets was about navigating a lot of volatility, brutal energy market, right? So, do you think that experience sharpened your instincts for asymmetric bets, and maybe that was part of why you got into Bitcoin?
It's interesting. Look, my energy experience, one, I left college with a marketing and economics background degree. Whether it was any good or not, I'm not sure. But I did learn one thing, and it was on the first day of Economics 101. And the guy went up on the chalkboard and he said, when supply exceeds demand, prices will fall. And when demand exceeds supply, prices will rise. I had this epiphany, as I have had many epiphanies, where a message or someone comes into my universe and it really impacts me.
Yeah.
And I've always been a little bit maybe sarcastic or brutal about the way I see things. And I was like, well, I'm done. because I didn't see anything else that I was going to get from economics.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, that's the cat daddy rule, dude. I don't need any more than that.
Right.
And that would actually shape, in retrospect, that would shape every business I ever went into. It was always at the very core of it. If supply and demand, if I could not see it, I would not play with it. If I did not understand it, the energy business defines whether we are a first, second, or third world nation. And we're getting ready to see Europe fall into a second and a half, third world nation because they have no energy. It's not about the price of your energy. It's about how much energy you have. About 100 guys just like me, 100 to 200 people just like me, rogue, just a little different, disruptors. Management from Conoco, management from Exxon, management from Enron, people just popping out of big corporates. We didn't like it. And we formed a company called Natural Gas Clearinghouse. The company had been formed. It was, I think, 12 commercial people there at the time. And I just knew I needed to work there. I was working for a really big company. I was 26, hated my boss, hated his boss, and I hated his boss. I didn't hate him. I just couldn't imagine spending my whole life there. I was
Sure.
like, come on, man. I did 8 years in school for this. So I got a job there and I found my home. And for anybody that's watching, finding your platform is so important. You studied medicine and then you decided to do something different, right? And I think that's really, really, really important to find what you love, not what you studied or what your dad wanted you to study or mom. So that would give me a foundation of 100 to 200 people disrupted and restructured the entire energy market in North America. That is Canada, North America, and then all of Europe. By changing the rules and working with the regulators to make a free market. And the whole pitch was, hey, let's have open access. If there is a 10% capacity on a pipeline or a grid and the monopoly's not using it, it should be available for you to use. It's been paid for 300 times over.
Yep.
Think of Google today. Think of Facebook today. If I send you $300 over Google, they will take $33.33. That should be completely illegal. That's not open access. That is complete trapped. You're on their platform and they're going to take a toll. If Visa charged you 33%, they would go to, it would be a felony. It wouldn't be a felony, but they do have some limits. They charge 3.5 and we bitch about it. If ExxonMobil made $33 out of every 100, wow, we'd be rioting. Okay. So what we did, long story, this has got me to crypto very, very rapidly. Like I probably moved into crypto faster than most of the crypto people have ever seen at this level, coming in at 40 grand or so. I mean, I got in this space 4 years ago when I really plowed in, which by the way is not a long time to build a business, big business.
Sure.
This will be the biggest business I have ever built in 40 years, in the least amount of time, with the most liquidity at any moment that I want. I've never had a business like this.
And when you talk about this business, you're just talking about the ownership of Bitcoin or the business that you're doing?
That is correct. Just like you think about the ownership of a multi-dwelling apartment building.
Yeah.
You call that a business.
Right.
Now, what you do, and I'm not judging you, but what many people do is you look at that business and go, look, I have a business. And I think you frame it around, okay, well, you were able to borrow 80 cents on the dollar and you have some people there. Gary's got Bitcoin. I mean, I have people. They don't belong to me. I don't need anyone more than a secretary because I have a low head count. Does that not make it a business? It's growing 45% a year.
Right.
The CAGR is scary.
Yeah.
I can trade it on a Saturday and Sunday, and I don't need a plumber. I don't need an insurance guy. I don't need State Farm. Don't get impacted by interest rates. Now, really, I don't really get impacted by interest rate. I'll benefit from an interest rate. Let's go back to energy a little bit, though, okay? So I built 3 businesses, helped build the North American business out. 2 years later, I'd be 29 years old. This is my accent. And I'm moving to London to build businesses in London with our partner, British Gas. I'm a very young 28-year-old, too, okay? I'm immature as shit. I have more horsepower than you've ever seen in your life. And I'm in a game that's really, really monster game, okay? Like, I was throwing around $1 billion deals like when I was 30. I mean, it's like unbelievable. Taught me the law of big numbers, taught me that, hey, there's just 3 more zeros. It doesn't really matter. It's easier to do $1 billion deal than a $10 million deal. I would spend 10 years in London seeing an entire market that had been held by one man. You literally had to go to lunch with this man named Alcock to move your natural gas into a country today that has zero. Okay. Like I remember having lunch with him and I said, Mr. Alcock, I really appreciate you having lunch, but you will never know whether you were a great negotiator, a fair negotiator, or a shitty negotiator. And he was shocked that I said that to him. He said, why do you say that to me? Because you've never had any competition.
Yeah.
And I live in a world where there has to be competition. Competition is good. It's healthy. See, when I was growing up in America, I actually thought I believed in free markets. Now I've been disabused of free markets because I've actually abused markets before. I mean, I've been in control of markets. It does happen. It doesn't happen forever and long. But I would see an entire market that had been around 150 years, 30-year contracts. You had to be with BP or Exxon or DuPont to do a deal. And now you and I can sign an ISDA agreement and trade nat gas, power, and crude oil. And these are the most violent commodities in the history of mankind. I've seen negative crude oil prices, negative nat gas prices, and negative power prices. We actually set rules up so we would see that. There's no refunds. There's no chargebacks, and there's no force majeure in the energy markets anymore. A hurricane rolls through Texas. You never hear people going, shit, man, all the energy went off. No, because we don't allow force majeure anymore. It used to be force majeure all over the place. So we created these hubs, these virtual hubs, and we said, hey, this is a pricing point. You, Exxon, get to pick wherever the 400 million cubic feet a day come from and deliver it to me at the Henry Hub. Boom, we have a hubbing point. The whole hub has to break up. It has to be nuked, right? I went to England. I'm like, that's a flaw. We need a virtual hub, not a real hub, right? A virtual hub. You just get the units into a big pool. I grab 400 units. They're mine. These markets work perfect today, okay? There's like these energy markets work absolutely perfect. Did a few companies go bankrupt? Yep. The United Kingdom's power market, the entire nuclear power industry went bankrupt. Not 1 kilowatt stopped. Enron did their little nasty deed. Not 1 kilowatt stopped. The market worked very well. I retire when I'm 40, move back to the States, take a lot of time off. I study religion and history and myself. And then I run into a girl in 2005, get on an airplane with her, and I get pulled into her business world. She didn't know how to make money on the internet. I didn't know anything about the internet. I thought she was sexy. Let's see what happens. So that would end up costing me $200 million, getting in bed with the wrong person. But it brought me into the payments industry. And what I saw in the payments industry, which I had no interest in whatsoever, they were saying things like Visa and MasterCard. This is what we're talking about: fraud, credit cards, payments, and online. Online is exploding. 2005 is exploding. You and I were given credit cards, all right, our little credit card. And the whole credit card thing was I would walk into a grocery store, your grocery store, and buy some groceries, give you my credit card, and sign something. Many people don't remember that, but that is what the credit card industry was set on. Face-to-face, peer-to-peer. I'm giving you something. I'm going to give you a license. And it was all designed to reduce the 8% loss in checks and bad money. Bad money being counterfeit money. Guess where we're at now? We're back way over 8% leakage. The credit card industry has 7 credit cards in everyone's back pocket. That's called adoption. We'll get to that on Bitcoin, right?
Yep.
Adoption took 52 years for Visa and MasterCard to get 7 cards in everybody's back pocket. So here we are today. We have a system that was built in the 70s. It sounds so much like the natural gas world. We have Visa and MasterCard calling things rails and pipes. It's like, I'm looking around going, dude, I don't know where your rails and pipes are. You don't have it. You have surveillance mechanisms. Okay, you do not have rails and pipes. There's 600, we find out 600 million disputes every year on the Visa MasterCard system. 600 million. Why am I saying all this? The credit card system runs massive transactions, just like a casino would, but none of those transactions settle.
Yep.
You're only given chips back, right? Just like you would in a casino. You have to, to leave the casino, and to get your money, you have to go to a cage and settle up with tokens to cash, right? That's how a casino works. So in the credit card industry, there's never a settlement. 180 days go by. If you sell me the groceries, I could claim a chargeback on you for 180 days. MasterCard's getting ready to change that to 280. The system is not a settlement system. It's not a money system. It's a token system designed to get consumers to spend too much fucking money.
Mm-hmm.
Because people don't spend money as easily as they do chips. Right?
Yep.
They don't. It's different. Okay. So I saw these massive flaws. We built a $500 million business in 5 years in the credit card industry that's 50 years old. Looking at a problem that I saw from the energy side, because I'm like, wow, there's no refunds and force majeure and chargebacks on nat gas, yet somebody gets to buy 8 T-shirts and refund them. It's killing the merchant. And the regulators aren't doing anything about it. And then I realized, oh my God, man, the entire system, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Visa, MasterCard own 72% of all the credit cards. They own 85% of all the fraud services that are sold around Visa, MasterCard. They literally are selling fraud. It's dressed up as fraud, but the truth is it's leakage from rails that don't exist. And a bunch of counterparties. They're like, I am the consumer, you're the merchant, and then there's Visa, MasterCard, 2 more banks, at least 2 processors, and gateway. So there's 11 people in this exchange, all sticking their beak into 3.5%, all taking a piece.
Which is kind of what you were seeing in London, although it was just one guy controlling. And here you got multiple big credit cards.
What we learn, breaking one guy's back is really easy. You give me a monopoly and let me go, I will take them down.
Right.
The duopoly, the oligopoly, the cartels, the OPEC. See, this is a good example. OPEC effectively is defunct and has been for 20 years. They have OPEC, and now they have OPEC plus, and tomorrow they'll have OPEC nothing, because clubs that big end up cheating. Right? So an oligopoly, you'll get a cheater if you put price pressure or regulatory pressure. In the case of the duopoly, though, Visa, MasterCard, it's they cooperate. I think also you have regulatory bodies that are actually supporting this. In the last 12 years, we've supported mega companies. Otherwise, and look, I'm not just picking on Visa, MasterCard. Let's go to Google and Facebook, 72% of social media. I go through this business. Now I've done real estate, 3 energy companies. I've got another energy company I've got an interest in that's a great business, generates $70 million a year in EBITDA. I've got an interest in that company. I've got the real estate with my brother that I did a long time ago. I go by Node 40. I think it's a fascinating business because crypto is not measured or calculated the same way that legacy accounting is done. So I saw that as a fraud, a piece. The Node 40 stuff is like, hey, how do you pay taxes? How do you do accounting? How do you settle a divorce settlement when somebody's got $100 million worth of Bitcoin or 10 million or $1 million? How do you separate coins and all that stuff? Well, and Bitcoin has basically led me to...
When did you actually first discover Bitcoin?
At 16. I looked at it in 13. Then I looked at it in 16 and I threw it out. They were They were going through the BC
Yeah.
Cash and Roger Ver and the circus. It was a circus, man.
What was there something in particular that brought you to it, or like what made you think about it? It's just people talking about it, and you're like, let's look into it.
Well, I was buying gold and silver at the time. Actually, had bought a lot of gold and silver, and our business was an awesome business. It was throwing off a lot of cash, but I was very, very worried. This is in 2011. I started buying. I'm worried the whole world's going to fall apart. I'd just gone through 208, had a ton of assets, all illiquid. I'm like, I ain't doing that shit again. That is not happening to me again. Then I get into this big business throwing, it's chunks of money off 600 people. Me and my wife own the whole business. There's no equity partners. We don't have any investors,
Right.
no debt. But I saw the business getting more and more difficult. When I explain the rules on Visa and MasterCard to you, I no longer have an interest in the company, but I look at that and like, sweetie, I want out. Visa, MasterCard just change the rules whenever they want. They just bought 2 fraud companies. Do you really think they're going to let you operate forever? They just changed the freaking rules.
Right.
You don't take this away. This is real money now, right? They're making 45, 50% margins. So, the gold was interesting. I bought some Bitcoin at around $8,000, but I bought about $4 million worth of gold and silver. That would go up. That would double, over 10 years. I just didn't understand Bitcoin well enough. It didn't seem stable to me. I've seen disruptive markets. I've actually disrupted some monster markets.
Yeah.
And what the Bitcoin people were saying was wrong. And I am convinced that I was correct in delaying, because the way I go into a market, I'm not going to do $10,000. I want to do something meaningful. Like, I really do want one thing to play with. I love a one trade.
Sure.
I'm not a diversified basket watcher. Hey, let's smash it all in on one really great trade. And if I have to suffer for, in all the private businesses I've ever built, I had to suffer for 5 to 7 to 8 years. Now I can suffer for less than 4 and make an enormous return without any human resource issues, without any human error whatsoever. The only human error I have to worry about is me. Now,
So
I like that, dude.
What
I gotta say,
but what made you kind of go? There was, and I totally, I think I understand too what you're saying. I think when I was in it in 2017, that's when I started. There was still, though, this sense that could this go to zero, right? I believed in the concept. I believed in it, and I thought it was a great idea. But I had a lot of questions about, will the government let something like this happen? Will, is they going to just shut down? Is there going to be some kind of, systemic flaw? What was it that convinced you to go sort of, buy a big chunk?
I study markets very, very well. It kept pulling me. One, price really gets people's attention. I think price is 90% of Bitcoin. And you can't, I am truly a supply and demand guy. So first off, the supply and demand, oh wow, 21 million. And you guys have lost 4? You lost 4 million coins. Oh, how'd you lose the 4 million? You lost the 4 million. I know how you lost it. You mispriced it. Bitcoin has been mispriced every day its entire history, dude, including today. Okay, look at what's happening. I walk into the market, 19 million coins have been issued. I can validate that.
Yep.
I then validate, I see these big swinging dicks, man. Monster players, guys like me leaving their careers.
Yeah.
Walking away from $14 million jobs going, I'm going to crypto, dude.
Yeah.
The other thing I saw was I started calling up people, NYDIG and Coinbase, and hey, I'm coming in New York. Can I see you? Sure, man, come on in. Not one person has said no to me that I've asked to meet. And these people are impressive. Okay, really impressive. Now, think, this is long before Trump shows up with Bitcoin. This is This is 5-6 years ago. And I fall in love with the people. The people, once I got through the noise and met the kind of people that I'm used to seeing, the guys that are going to drop $200 million into this space or drop their whole career and they're going to build things around it. That was when Saylor got activated. And as soon as Saylor talked, I'm like, okay, now I know, like, there's another one like me. Interesting thing is, if you notice the people that came in that era, we all had a problem. We're not necessarily overly smart, but we all had this nagging little problem or a big problem. His was he was having a hard time competing with Google. Mine was finding businesses that could continue to grow that would allow me to exit them, though, without living 10 and 15 years of my life. This last deal was literally, I'm going to build something under 7 years. And my partner, cock blocked me because she wasn't ready to get over her dopamine hits from running a business, right? Okay, cool. But people get bored of doing this. The dopamine only solves this so many times. Then I had then COVID shows up, and every spidery sense in my body in 2019 was going, I'm going, man, I am so glad I went long gold and silver. I'm looking at the business. I hate the business now. I have 600 people. We had lawsuits. I got an FTC lawsuit. I then had a class action and a RICO filing against me. I mean, it's ridiculous. I've never done anything wrong in my life involved in the Enron world. No one's ever said one thing about me. And then all of a sudden in the payments industry, I got all these Biden, I'm just saying, hey, like these regulators came after me and my brother hard. They came after me so hard, it's ridiculous. Now all that's gone, $7, $8, $9 million later, defending cases against draconian regulators. By the way, independent committees have said SEC, draconian, usury, like capricious. FTC, the same thing. Like this is not Gary's imagination or hard on. We were living in a fascist regulatory environment for certain.
Yeah, I heard Trump talking about how he got debanked after presidency. Chase wouldn't allow his deposits. Bank of America wouldn't allow his deposits.
Get on the enemy list.
Yeah.
Russia's had their credit facilities pulled twice. Visa and MasterCard must not really be public companies, because public companies don't call entire countries up and go, hey, by the way, you can't use any of your access to us. They've done this twice now. How many times are we going to have to do this before other countries go, fuck you guys, man? Well, that's happened now. So as you see remember in 2005, I lived in Europe for 10 years. I'm looking around Europe going, I have no idea how you guys think you're going to survive this. You're letting in all these people. You have no energy. You have no food. I mean, I could see the way they were ruling their country. And I love the United Kingdom. I mean, no disrespect whatsoever. But it was so clear to me. Then I come back to the States, take some time off. I had a clear head. I see the abuse and fraud going on. I remember going to bankers going, hey, I can solve these chargeback problems for you. And they would take me outside the bar at night and go, hey, Gary, we really like you, dude. We don't want to offend you, but, we're never going to give you our chargeback business, right? I said, why is that? Half our money's made from this. Half our profits. So I'm in this weird business. And then I started looking around. Many of the businesses, parasitic. They are not adding value to anything in society. And then I keep hearing about this Bitcoin thing. And during my violent divorce and breakup from this business CEO, this lady, she made a comment to our investment banker one day. She said, Gary stole $8 million and bought Bitcoin with it. Now, this guy will become a very major player in the Bitcoin industry. I cannot tell you his name, but he knows who I'm talking about. And the guy says to her, now she's trying to sue me and say I'm a crazy. He says, well, God, he's a fucking God. She was like, oh, I did not want to hear that. By the way, that had been a $1 billion trade. $1 billion trade, dude. The Bitcoin, just to go to the divorce a little bit, because it's people, I bring this up, but I got to tell people, because when 46% of people get divorced, I'm no longer ashamed of it. 2, I had one of the greatest outcomes in a divorce that should never have been filed against me in the history of mankind. And I want to just, many people will not understand this, but actually owning Bitcoin in the volume that I owned it, and at the time that I had to go to the court, which I was down 73% on that investment, actually afforded me some luxuries I cannot even define, okay? Because when you have 10 people against you who do not understand the subject, and it's Bitcoin and crypto, and it's gotten all this noise, Elizabeth Warren, the judge, you're going to assume that I am crazy. Okay, you're going to assume that I can't show you anything. This has been pitched as the dirtiest money on the planet. I'm called in July for a 8-hour depo. There are 10 professionals against me. I have to be there. I'm a cool cookie in the courtroom. My lawyer calls me and says, hey man, tomorrow, you need to get a lot of sleep. Tomorrow is going to be the worst day of your life. I'm down 73%. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks bad.
Yeah.
This is an 8-hour meeting. I go in I own a company called Node 40. Well, Node 40 does deep forensic accounting on crypto. And all these cockheads in the against me, they know I'm down. Their job is to make me look stupid. They, of course, open up, tell the judge I've lost a bunch of money. And then I basically roll out Node 40 in extreme detail. Your daughter could understand my position. No one needed to use the word blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum, swaps, mops, or any ledgers. None of that was used. 1 hour later, man, I was dismissed. 1 hour. Because I had a multi-million-dollar portfolio that settled to zero. And we just looked at my partner and said, hey, can you show us the same detail of all our legacy assets, please? Because we got gold, silver, money, cash, we got credit, we got shit all over the place. That divorce would go on for 2 more years. The word Bitcoin was never, ever brought up again. And the credibility in the judge's eyes, my credibility went up because I was ultra transparent. I literally, hey, you can have half of these. Which ones do you want? And this is when it became clear to me, oh my God, dude, which ones do I want? Do you want the $8,000 ones or do you want the 70? And I know what she's going to do. I want the 8,000. Cool, they're yours. So is the tax issue. And then I began to realize, oh my God, Bitcoin has these tax opportunities to them. They're just fabulous. You'll understand this as a real estate guy. You know, when you can start throwing write-offs, like imagine having Bitcoin on your balance sheet. You guys got $10 million worth of apartments, and you got $2 million worth of Bitcoin, and like just you do a hybrid, and let's say that $2 million worth of Bitcoin on one afternoon goes down to 1.5 because it's volatile. You sell the 1.5, buy it back, take the $500,000 loss, and run that loss through your apartment building.
Right. And there's no wash rules as of now, too,
nope.
Which is kind of nice.
Dude, this is commodity.
Yep.
So, you start looking at that. Then you start looking at a CAGR of 45%. Then I start looking at the duration stack of real estate. I'm in with my brother for 10 plus years. Now I've studied Bitcoin deeply. Okay. 4 years no one loses money after 4 years. So then it checked off another box. I'm like, wow, you tell me I can have a liquidity event if I want in 4 years. I only have to hold on 4 years. Even if I pick the top, man, if I would have picked the top in 2020 at 69,000, would you like 115 right now? You had to hold it for 4 years. You would have seen it go to 16 grand. Would you like investing 69 today, 4 years ago, and having 115 today? That's a great return, man. Right? So, and that return, by the way, that'll be 230 in 4 years. That's an 8-year hold to make, monster return. When I started buying Bitcoin, just 1 second, when I started buying Bitcoin, you'll appreciate this. Me and Grant started buying apartment doors in Arizona for $35,000. And when Bitcoin was 27,000, I'm like, wow, dude, these are apartment doors. This is never going to happen again. It's the right way to look at it. It's an apartment door. It doesn't need a client, man. It doesn't need a client. It's got 8 billion. The addressable market is 8 billion people. Okay, you don't need them all.
Yep.
You just need a small function of those 8 billion to go, 21 million units and 4 have been lost. It's already mispriced, okay? They're pricing Bitcoin at 115 today, assuming there's 21 million units. We know there's not. There's 17. So the supply shrunk. The market cap's at 2 trillion. Hello? Like, if you only got... if you've got less volume here, the price is wrong.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Gary, because you're a markets guy, and this has crossed my mind a lot lately. As you can see, between Saylor and, everybody else who's buying Bitcoin out there, the big companies, and now it looks like some countries are going to start buying. This stuff is getting bought much quicker than anything's being mined. And to your point, at $115,000, I just don't understand why it's not moving from here. Now, granted, it did move a lot. We got to, 40%. I'm just saying, but I look at what's going on and I just think, why isn't this just gradually continuing to move? You see these huge buys and you don't see the market move at all. Obviously, it's over the counter stuff, right? You're not hitting platforms and that kind of thing. Do you see a point?
No, I think a lot of this is hitting platforms, man.
You think so?
This is more transparent by a million compared to Visa, MasterCard, or
so you think
Sailor's
buying on platforms?
Yeah.
You think so? Okay.
I think they're Sailor's maybe a little different. There's a lot of people. There's 80,000 Bitcoin hit an exchange 4 days ago, and the price went down 3%, man. What do you, this is a problem. For your audience, one of the things when I got into this in 2013 and 16, I looked at it and went, I don't like it. It's not mature enough for me.
Yeah. Now it is, I guess. Obviously, if you can dump 80 million Bitcoin, what was that, like $9 billion worth of Bitcoin, and it brought the market down.
Bro.
Yeah, trade.
This was like
$50
billion a day.
Yeah.
Trades in Bitcoin.
Right.
50 billion, okay? Markets can be too small. $2 trillion market, just for your audience, has never failed in history. It is critical mass essential, okay? 2 trillion doesn't fail. And this was really important for us to get to this point. The ETFs were very important. The regulation that I spent my whole life, it all sounds awesome. Hey, Gary made a bunch of money shorting the UK power market, but I spent 30% of my time with the regulators, shaping the rules, tinkering with them, make sure that nobody could, clock us, to make the market really, really efficient and work properly. So the supply and demand would speak to each other. Now, the difference between Bitcoin as a commodity and everything else is that we issued, let's say 19 million got issued pretty much in the first 12 years, 13 years. That's very different than what we do with money or oil. We get the price of oil up and we go find more.
Yep.
You can do whatever you want to the price of Bitcoin. You're not going to find more than 21 million, and you can't add more than 425 Bitcoin a day.
Well, you said, when you say it's mispriced, okay, that's kind of what I believe that to be the case as well. And I'm just wondering.
It's mispriced because it's grossly misunderstood, because it's the only thing nothing's ever been issued up front and then you stop. the incremental supply of something else, of some more dilution because you raise the price. There's nothing you can do. You're going to have to pay me to get my Bitcoin. I have many Bitcoin, and they're not, you can't go reproduce those or copy it. Cap, 21 million, 4 have been lost. Ooh, I just met my first principle of supply and demand. I can actually, every 10 minutes, audit it. I'm like, wow, you can audit it? Ooh. So we get the regulation we want. We have Trump come into office in October. I sat down with Mr. Trump and 30 other people. He asked us what we wanted as a community. We told him, and he gave it to us. Every one of them. Everything. This was before he really understood Bitcoin. Now I think he's understood the significance of governance and problems in this country. And I think every time they look at like 90% of their problems, they're like, wow, Bitcoin could take the edge off this problem. Ooh, Bitcoin could solve that problem. We have 37-year-old executive team surrounding Trump and his entire family, and they like Bitcoin. I mean, what more? You got China banning Bitcoin again now, today or yesterday.
Yeah.
So they don't know what they're doing.
For the 10th time or so, right? So, one thing I think is interesting is I've thought about this concept too. Back in 2017, it was still, I think, speculative to a certain degree. I mean, at least for those of us who weren't completely safe, feeling safe going all in at that point. But now it's actually, ironically, a hedge, against the fiat system, the banking system, and all that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a great way to look at it. I think Bitcoin is I look at Bitcoin as an option, and it's an option it's a put on the legacy world, and it's a call option on, hey, if I'm right and this goes correct, this is Amazon in 1995, and this is Microsoft in 1980. It took Microsoft a long time to become a really big company. It took NVIDIA 26 years to become a $4 trillion company. Bitcoin is 16, my friend. 16 has been invited to every private country club on planet Earth. Now, that's never happened to a 16-year-old business ever. By every country club on planet Earth, I mean the ETFs run by the greatest banks in the world, they sell stuff. People don't buy investments. Banks sell investment products to humans. Okay, they sell them, and they're all in on this thing. You got J.P. Morgan coming to this thing. He doesn't know what to do with himself. BlackRock's spread themselves from mining all the way through the entire value chain, all the way to Coinbase. Mining, ETFs, MicroStrategy. You have Norwegian pension funds buying MicroStrategy $500 million at a time. And MicroStrategy's figured out, hey, it's cheaper to buy Bitcoin than it is to mine Bitcoin. It's a much more effective business to buy Bitcoin than to mine Bitcoin. And I'm looking at all this going, hey, if that makes sense for a public company, it's got to make sense for a guy like me. I hate going public. And that's where I want to just get back to, I believe, because I'm really having a hard time selling this to the world, Bitcoin should be looked at as a private equity deal. Every one of the people that watch this show have said at one point in time in their life, hey, I would really like another business that wasn't a headache. Hello, this is it, man. It doesn't have cash flow, okay, like you guys are used to getting on, but I also don't pay operating income. And I don't have to do all these tax and accounting rules and maybe there's an opportunity there, but I see these worlds coming together where these products are going to fit very well together, and they're going to allow you to actually amplify. When you say hedge, I'm like, I actually want to amplify it.
Yeah. So let's take a company like Strategy, Sealer's company.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've thought about around Bitcoin is, obviously I believe in it. You've mentioned 40% CAGR, so annual growth per year average, right? When you look at a company like Strategy, and you project out like 10, 20 years, they have to have that growth in Bitcoin in order to survive in a way, right? I mean, they're issuing all of these notes that they're paying 8%, 9%.
Are they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What's that?
Well, it's basically
The last note they did?
yeah. I mean, there's a
but
couple
they
of
hold
them.
on
There's,
to Bitcoin, though, buddy.
oh, yeah. I'm not selling Bitcoin. It's just
No, but they hold on to the Bitcoin.
they do.
But that's the trade, see?
That is the
Look,
trade,
you,
right?
You offer a 4.5% cap rate,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're going to be in the, well, you're not going to draw, it's going to be hard for you to draw money.
Right.
When sailors willing to pay 9.
Right.
On an instrument that's more liquid, quite
Yeah.
frankly. It's more liquid. Like this product was first up, and he keeps all of the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So his cost of capital is 9%. By the way, this $4 trillion he's doing, it's oversubscribed. It started at 500 million. Now it's at 3 billion. He's getting ready to do another one. All the money he raised prior to that has near zero cost of capital. Now he has some debt, but there are tranches of that are zero. What is the difference in what he's doing and what you're doing?
Yeah.
The difference is, you know what? He has no covenant breaches. You have covenant breaches, right? With your bank. He has none. They cannot default on him. The reason this is happening, and this is Grant will get this now. It'll be this year. He'll get, oh my God, the banks are willing to not admit it in public, but they're willing to give me better terms if I have Bitcoin. I'm telling you, we are living through a moment right now. I think it's the next 12 months. The cost of my capital relative to my collateral will be superior to yours, and I'll pay a cheaper rate. We're getting ready to see this turn where people go, whoa, I like the Bitcoin. I have a bank here. They've seen what's in my wallets. They hold nothing of it. They have no control over it. They are treating me very differently today than they treated me 2 years ago. People are saying, I can't stop. We don't even have anyone now that doesn't understand Bitcoin that's saying anything negative about it. Even the guys that were poo-pooing on it, now they're like, they've stopped. So
Except Peter Schiff. Peter Schiff is still.
Well, but he's not really a rich guy, and he's not really running a business, is he? I mean, he figured out a way to get a bunch of followers.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge, I think, for most investors is, and business builders, is this doesn't require a lot of meetings. And so your dopamine, you're not always running around doing stupid shit. I mean, running a business, you think about how efficient it is. I'm at a stage in my life. I wish I'd have done this much earlier.
Sure.
We looked at, hey, how much energy am I putting in relative to how much I'm getting out? Sometimes I just get on a hamster wheel, and I'm like, well, this is the wheel I live in. I mean, I live in this wheel, and that's what I do. But I saw that it was.
Yeah, how far along? How long do you think the 40% annual growth can continue? I mean, and why?
Well, when was the last time you made 40%?
Well, on my own Bitcoin.
Yeah, bingo.
Right. No, 100%. I guess what, and again,
well, the reason I'm asking the question, because I know the type of people that listen to this.
Yeah.
Okay, and they want to hear like, oh, that was an interesting question. But my point is, hey, why don't we look at the rest of your portfolio before I address that question? Because the truth is, again, I think Bitcoiners sell this thing bad. I'll tell you what, I'll guarantee 11% return. How's that?
Yeah.
I'll guarantee 11 or 12
Sure.
or 13. You're going to take it, man.
Yep.
Of course you're going to take it. You haven't seen 13% that's liquid. 13% will double every 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
You get rich getting money doubled every 3 years, okay? I mean, that's awesome. So even at 11, okay, could I be wrong at 45? What, I'm not going to do the deal at 23 or 20? What if I'm wrong and it's 60? It ain't going to be zero. Now, it could be zero or negative for a year or two. Hey, that offers me a tax loss harvesting opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a very interesting product, but you have to use it. Look, I bought a company on Saturday afternoon with Bitcoin. $4 million Saturday afternoon at 2:30. No human beings involved. Now, if you're the guy selling the company, are you happy with that transaction? Because this is a settlement transaction. He's using the money 10 minutes later. There's no clawbacks. As a buyer, and I think for you real estate guys, you should really listen to this, okay? And I'll help you. You think you can buy real estate cheaper on a Saturday afternoon than you can a Monday morning when the market's open?
Yeah.
I bet you can. You can start calling every bank in the world going, hey, dude, I can settle before you breach. Because you know that all 11 banks are having that same phone call on the same damn property in the same zip code. One property there's 15 or 20 properties that get liquidated that day. So if you're hunting this stuff, I don't use Bitcoin to buy potato chips, okay? I use Bitcoin for leverage. You want to do a trade? Awesome, dude. I want a 20% discount. I can execute right now. Otherwise, I'm going to keep my Bitcoin.
Right.
I have an asset today that makes me look at every other asset and go, unless you can give me a 20%, 25% guarantee, I don't need the headache. I've been doing this my whole life. To not listen to these messages, it's not like I might be crazy, but I've been successful. And this works, okay? People talk about lack of diversification. I'm like, well, you guys are in real estate, man. You want to talk about lack of diversification. I'm in private equity. Yeah, you can't get out either. There's so much that can go wrong. The key man can die. I like Elon's businesses. The problem is I don't like it. It's one guy. Yeah. I can't invest in those companies, man. I can't invest in NVIDIA. I can't invest in Palantir 600 times earnings. Okay. Bitcoin is priced at 115 for today. It has no future value whatsoever. This is the confusion everyone's getting. They look at Palantir and they go, wow, look at Palantir. It's really going up. I wouldn't give you that. 600 times earnings? Good luck, man. Okay? I'm paying 1 times. Okay? And the value in the future, it appears like it has no premium on it whatsoever. 0. How can that be? Okay? We do not know how to price finite. That's how it is. And I know that because I can just look around the world and go, wow, look, I don't know, Buck, but I'm pretty sure you're one of one. I can't even value you correctly, dude. Yeah. I'm at war with half the people I know because I don't understand them, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really know value. Human beings don't know value. We know how to put a number on things. And these numbers are wrong. By the way, NVIDIA, 6 months ago, went up $250 billion, right? One day, not one analyst got it. Not one analyst said we were going to have $250 billion move on NVIDIA today. It literally moved in 6 hours. United Healthcare just lost $300 billion of value in 4 days. And nobody saw that shit coming either. Yeah. This is Bitcoin is not volatile. Amazon went down 8% the other day. There's violence out there. I look at Bitcoin as, wow, we are the North Star.
Yeah.
And we're so early in the adoption period, man.
Let's talk about that because I think, now I think when you look at the retail space, I think a lot of people look at it and say, it's $115,000. I've lost, I've lost an opportunity here. When I look at Bitcoin, it's hard for me to imagine Bitcoin being less than $1 million in 5 to 10 years. But I'm curious on what you see and why.
Well, we have less than 3% adoption. Less than 3. 3 goes to 6 fairly easily, right? You start thinking, one, exponential. Human beings are used to thinking in kind of step change, and we usually underestimate how long change really requires, and then we really underestimate how much change actually occurs.
Mm-hmm.
Think the internet and think that you're actually using a credit card that was built for grocery shopping, and there's so much fraud because actually the credit card wasn't built for why y'all are using it.
Yeah.
You're literally using it. 13% of the people are inebriated when they buy something today. There's so much off. They're not in grocery stores. The responsibility level of this transaction is less because there is no interaction and there's a lack of consistency of rules. Visa has a rule, MasterCard has a rule, the bank has a rule, these guys have a rule, everybody else has a rule, and the rules constantly change. What you need is a market that doesn't have 52 million terms and conditions. There should be one terms and conditions for all merchants. Come on. It's ridiculous. We have a global market, right? You can't have all. If we're moving from 8-track tape to cassette to then CDs and now to an iPhone that Spotify is going to charge me $2 more for, and then I can just move over back to Apple Music. Like, we are moving into a digital planet, right? Robots are not going to use credit cards, man. They're not going to use, they don't need Visa. We don't need middlemen. So with 3% adoption, and I think the 3% is ridiculously high, but let's play with 3%. We're at 115,000. We're 16 years old, and the video just started rolling. Most businesses take 7 years to really get their teeth into it. Bitcoin has suffered egregious regulatory behavior in the United States and from every other country. 400 million people, it's got to 115, and I'm telling you, it's the worst marketing in the history of mankind. Now, how is it? I started buying at $400 billion valuation. This is the way I look at Bitcoin. I don't look at the price. I look at the total market. If you looked at Warren Berkshire's Hathaway stock, and you said, well, I can't afford $80,000 20 years ago, it's trading at $750,000 today.
Yeah.
So if you have a unit bias and go, well, gosh, I'm not going to buy a Rolls Royce because it's priced at $500,000. I'm going to go buy a Toyota. That's your prerogative. Maybe you couldn't afford the Rolls Royce in the first place. But the cool thing about Bitcoin, unlike the Rolls Royce, is you don't have to buy the whole Rolls Royce. You can buy a fraction of it.
Right.
You know, you don't. Maybe you guys partner with each other to do apartment buildings. Well, you're already doing fractured deals on apartment buildings. So
sure,
it's not really that different. You most certainly cannot buy a Popeye's fried chicken franchise for $115,000 that has no expiration, no license, no people to manage. And it has 17 million fixed franchises and 450 million people marketing. Dude, we're crazy marketers too.
Yeah.
And then you have this another thing of a lot of crazy guys like me that seem to, and I came in 4 years ago. Quite frankly, I am the earliest and the least risk. And the people that are coming in today, right now, you have literally close to zero risk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're at critical mass now. 2%, 3% goes to 6%. I mean, it does go to 6%. You have the largest ETF in the history of ETFs. Okay, this supersedes the gold ETF by orders of magnitude. When we launched the ETF on gold, I think the price is 10x since then. We did this in the natural gas and power markets, and we've probably now just made it through halfway of really in the most efficient markets in the world. And by the way, natural gas and crude oil prices are down because the markets work. We're moving into a world where 40% of the dollars that's sitting in your pocket right now have Steve Mnuchin's name on them, is the Treasury Secretary. And that means they created them when Steve was in office. 40% of every dollar on planet Earth was created when Steve is in office. Just look at the ones in your pocket, if you have any. And by the way, nobody has any. So we're moving to a digital world. We have Elon Musk with Bitcoin. We have the Besant who studied under George Soros when he did the silver trade, looking at Bitcoin and going, man, this thing, wow, Germany sold 50,000 units and depressed the price 7% last year. Then somebody dumps 80,000 Bitcoin on a Thursday afternoon it just came out of nowhere. The price of Bitcoin went down 3%. If you actually understand markets and you just look at that one thing, go 80,000 Bitcoin were sold in a trade and the market went down 3%.
And they were sold on a platform too. I mean, they weren't sold OTC. This was
This is the
sold on
biggest fear with
platforms.
this product: getting in but not being able to get out.
Yeah.
80,000. No, like how many times can 80,000 be bought? By the way, and that happens where the price just goes down 3%. It's one day. If Nvidia can move 250, Bitcoin will move 15. I think you're going to see a $15,000 to $20,000 move this year in the next 6 months. It's going to freak people out because there are a lot of people think this first 3%. The first 3%, 80% of them are crazy as shit. I mean, these are anarchists. They're not corporates. They're not Wall Street. And then I was called a suit 4 years ago by this industry. We're all learning to get together. I stopped wearing suits. I paid attention. You got Sailor coming in here going, hey, look, this is the silver trade of the 70s the Hunt brothers were trying to do. And your audience remembers this. And he's not going to get caught blocked this time. The only thing that happened with the Hunt brothers is that the regulators changed the rules. This ain't going to happen on this. This is global, man.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a very different kitty cat. It's global.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. It's so fascinating. And the more I study it, the more it's like Mercury. And Mercury tends to go seek out all the little gaps. And what you're seeing with the strategy, you're seeing us arbitrage. This is what Grant's doing now. Grant bought a $100 million property. I think he put $10 million of Bitcoin on it. Immediately filled it up. I mean, like, people were like, and this was from clients that had never bought from him before. And they had never bought any Bitcoin. He found that fascinating. Now he's doing 50-50, $100 million properties, $50 million of Bitcoin, and then raising the other 50 and then doing the distribution. I think what's going to end up happening, he's going to wake up probably in 2 years and be able to buy more real estate with the Bitcoin that's sitting on it or get his cash out.
Yeah.
And then when he comes to sell, if he can get his position big enough, and I think this is what got him really interested. My comment to him, and we don't do much business together. I never give him any advice, but he started getting into this field, and I did, is, hey, if you're going to want to double or triple your business at 6, 7 years old, you're going to have to do something spectacular. And spectacular is Bitcoin. It's just sitting there as a lever. But not understanding it's not going to help get you there, right? It's easy for me to understand these markets because I don't fight them. I go, hey, why are all these people so interested?
Yeah.
And they're smart people, man. They're not dumb people, right? It all kind of makes sense when you start looking at it. If you're willing to understand that, the world you live in, you don't understand. That's the other problem with this scenario, because a lot of people hold on to what they really want. It's hard for people to go, wow, I'm actually in trouble. Yeah. I do believe, by the way, people are in trouble. There's something happening here that's devaluing our time and who we are and what we're doing. And to not, look at something like this as an opportunity, especially when a guy like me, I cannot understand Palantir's earnings. I just don't.
Yeah.
This is really, atmospheric, historic.
I appreciate the perspective, Gary. It's been really good talking to you today. And, I think it's important for people to kind of understand that it's, I think a lot of people are still burying their heads about this.
That's going to be a huge mistake.
Yeah. And so,
4 years ago is one thing, but.
Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate you being on the show and helping people understand.
Yeah, well, hopefully I did. There's so much material out there that people can grab into. So tons of great material. Well, appreciate you, man. Thank you.
You bet. We'll be right back. You make a lot of money, but are still worried about retirement. Maybe you didn't start earning until your 30s, and now you're trying to catch up. Meanwhile, you've got a mortgage or private school to pay for, and you feel like you're getting further and further behind. Now, good news, if you need to catch up on retirement, check out a program put out by some of the oldest and most prestigious life insurance companies in the world. It's called Wealth Accelerator, and it can help you amplify your returns quickly, protect your money from creditors, and provide financial protection to your family if something happens to you. The concepts here are used by some of the wealthiest families in the world, and there's no reason why they can't be used by you. Check it out for yourself by going to wealthformulabanking.com.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. Now it's I know it was kind of interesting. You know, I let Gary just kind of talk. I didn't want to interrupt him too much because I think he has a lot to say. And I know, you know, there was a lot of tangents and such, but I think the bottom line is you see that this is a guy with a ton of conviction. He's a guy with a lot of money who's all in. And again, my point in bringing this to your attention is that, you know, again, we've talked about it. We talked about it a lot on this show, especially at the beginning. It's not FOMO stuff anymore. Retail guys, barbers telling you about that. None of that is even happening. Like retail crypto craze is not happening. This is entirely institutional FOMO. It is ultra high net worth FOMO. It is university endowment FOMO. That's what's happening right now. And that is what we call the smart money, right? And if you want to go somewhere where the smart money is going, you have to at least start thinking about some Bitcoin. Anyway, that's it for me this week on Wealth Formula Podcast. This is Buck Joffrey signing out. If you want to learn more, you can now get free access to our in-depth personal finance course featuring industry leaders like Tom Wheelwright and Ken McElroy. Visit wealthformularoadmap.com.